Sleepless Chapter 7 8 Days Remaining May 14th, 6:25 a.m. Luigi shakes himself awake. He had passed out at some point in time, still chained up screaming in the basement of Odette's house. Sakura Tomoji pours herself a cup of water from the wash sink. She takes a sip, then viciously throws the water at Rigi. "Wake up," she orders. Rigi opens his eyes. He looks around drunkenly. The voice that had been calling to him in his sleep had been silenced. "Sakura." He looks up, dripping and wet. "Tell me this is water and not pee again." "Come on. I haven't done that since we were like 8, Sakura comments. Odette tells me that you can hear the voice of the forest calling to you also. Rigi nods, then freezes. "What do you mean, also?" Sakura asks, "When were you stung?" Rigi shakes his head. "I don't know. Everything's all messed up in my head. Maybe it was 2 nights ago. Yesterday. I was stung on May 9th at 12:33, Sakura explains. "I'm still alive." Rigi looks up at her. "That makes you stronger than me, no doubt about that. Why haven't the voices driven you mad?" "Because I know how to quiet my mind," she explains. "If you tune them out, they hurt a lot less. I can try to show you how I'm doing it." As the two of them wait for the others to wake up, Sakura gives Rigi her headphones. She turns on the tape that she had been playing. A slow, loud clicking sound comes over the wire. Rhythmic, constant. Sakura explains. That is the sound of a pendulum swinging. It will continue for 14 minutes and 8 seconds. Then a bell will ring. Hear no other sounds. Let the swinging pendulum become your heartbeat. Sakura takes a slow breath. She folds her legs and rests her hands on her knees. You are a conductor. You are a concert hall. The ceiling is 40 feet high. You set a metronome on the desk. You pull back the hammer. The first tick. 9/10 of a second pass. A second tick. You look to the left. There's a 60-piece band standing and awaiting your instructions. You look to the right. There is a 99-man chorus. Lift one hand, and a drum beats. The drum shadows the metronome. Every instrument strikes a harmonic code. Every sound you know is attached to one of those instruments. Remember this image. Keep it in the back of your mind. You are the conductor. You have a gifted ear. You can choose to hear or not hear any sound you want. Now focus. What sounds do you want to hear? May 14th, 8:07 a.m. Takeshi sits on the floor of one of the labs in the basement. He has brought Setsuka with him. The room was once part of a bomb shelter, but when the building was refurbished, it became an operating room. But most of the time, this part of the hospital remains locked. The embalming room is just across the way. Tinsma is tied to a gurney. Takeshi has set up an EEG, as well as a dozen other pieces of scanning equipment, all of which show her flatlined, except the EEG. Takeshi has a digital camera with him. He sits on the table nearest him, angled down, with a handful of books. He looks at his phone, then looks for his smokes. Seeing his run out, he throws the pack off to one side and turns on the camera with the remote on his smartphone. It is 8:09 a.m., May 14th. Setsuko Tenzuma was declared dead at 10:10 p.m. May 13th. Official cause of death, cranial trauma. Dr. Tenzuma has left in my care a collection of observations from her last case. As per her last wishes, I will be attempting to carry out her final experiments in her absence. Takeshi pauses the recording and turns on the camera to face the lab table. The body has begun to excrete a blue film, a plastic-like quality to it. Patient's skin temperature is 68.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Heart rate 0 beats per minute. Brain activity clocks at 2.5 hertz and sustaining. Takeshi explains. The room has been scanned for background EM. Intermediates are expected to be functioning within 1.4 deviations. 0 detectable respiratory activity. Skin muscles are showing no signs of rigor mortis. It would appear that the vascular systems are functioning without the need for a heartbeat. Takeshi walks around the room for a short time, talking to himself. Clinically, Tenzuma is dead. There is no doubt about that, but her body is not all dead, only mostly dead. At this time, I have yet to come to any understanding as to what this can mean. The body is covered in a protein gel. It seems to originate from the porous glands. Signs of swelling around the saliva glands can be detected. Cancerous growths around the esophagus have been noted. May 14th, 8:25 a.m. Oso's bar had a line waiting out the door since sunup, half of whom seemed to want to talk to Rico Jet. One of the men in town was even nice enough to go diving into the hollowed-out remnants of Rico's house and dig up his anvil and other tools. With the blade ban lifted, everyone wants to have their family swords cleaned and polished by the most talented craftsmen in town. Rico complains that he doesn't have a coal pit or an outdoor furnace, but the kind men of Chinsumaru are more than happy to gather skills, and construction of an open-air blacksmith shop is underway before 9 a.m. There is no getting out of it. By noon today, the furnace will be lit, and it will be time for Jet to do what his family has always done. Jogo Katana is in the crowd also, accompanied by Deputy Yuseto and a half-dozen other cops. Joe, on the other hand, isn't looking to have his sword cleaned. He is looking for Oso. Hanzo runs from table to table, readying cups of tea and bowls of soup. When Oso reaches Joe's table, Joe grabs him by one arm and slows him down. Hanzo, I need your help. Oso stops. What is going on? These men, they've been working without a break for 18 hours. I need an extra set of hands, Joe explains. Oso knows what Joe is getting at. No, I don't do that sort of work anymore. Joe holds up an orange scarf that he has been using to signify anyone who has been deputized. I'm on my way to Ichishin Megami. I need you. He pushes his scarf at Hanzo. Oso shakes his head. I don't want it. Joe insists. Yes, you do. Oso pushes away. No, I don't. Joe tries again. Yes, you do. Oso insists. No, I don't. Joe pulls the scarf into his own chest. No, you don't. Oso grabs the scarf and pulls it into his chest. Yes, I do. Joe comments, if you insist. He gives the scarf to Oso. Then welcome to the police force. Ready your blade and follow me. Oso looks shocked as he looks at the scarf, then up at Joe. Slaps Oso. Joe slaps Oso playfully with a wide grin and walks off. Oso looks over to Jet, his mouth open, his eyes wide with confusion. What just happened? May 14th, 9:50 a.m. Yuseto uses a shape charger to blow the lock off the temple gate. Then the police charge up the steps to the temple. Going through the temple and around the back, The army arrive at the monks' hidden township. The center of the town is the statue of Tomino no Miya, a bronze koi at her side, 100 shrine gates holding the mighty fox in place. Tomino no Miya is laid forward on her hands and knees, her tail up, showing her fangs. She is a beast, but she is wrapped in a shrine maiden's outfit to mask her monstrousness. Several dozen monks are dragging men from their homes and walking them to a funeral pyre. Staked high on the ground are piles of burnt bodies. A witch hunt is underway. Joe Kokotana lifts a megaphone and calls out, "By orders of the chief constable, you are all to stop what you are doing and follow us at once." There's no debate, no collaboration. The monks take up arms, farming equipment, clubs, whatever happens to be in arm's reach. This intrusion will not be tolerated. The police are not welcome in the township. A monk charges Kokotana. Oso interrupts. Oso Hanzo is a superb athlete. He has the focus and the training to meet 8 men in hand-to-hand combat at once. The monk swings a sickle. Oso draws his family sword, slicing the head off the reaper as he slides in front of the constable. By the rules of a Ronin, there is a continuum of violence. When fighting a single man, the Ronin allows the challenger to choose his weapon. When fighting 2 men at once, the Ronin aims for a crippling strike. Only when fighting 3 or more men, or an opponent with parallel training, does one strive to kill. Today Oso has no choice. Today he fights for his life. Kokotana orders, "Subdue everyone." A mass brawl breaks out. 100 monks, armed with staves and sickles, versus a dozen cops, armed with tactical armor and titanium rods. The fight is fast. The conflict is bloody. Joe Kokotana watches the battle from within. It is madness, and he is at the center. For decades, the monks have been allowed to police themselves. But today he brings order, forcibly. May 14th, 9:55 a.m. Jin walks up and down the length of Odette's room, the 2 girls watching him with interest. Jin bites the palm of his hand as he struggles to piece things together in his mind, before at last he calls out, "How does one beat an illusion?" Odette calls out, "You can't lie to a camera." Sakura lowers her eyes in irritation. "That is objectively untrue." Jin produces his phone from his pocket. "I have a 780i camera on my phone. Do you think that would work to break this illusion?" Odette leans back, looking up. "We need to first agree on something that we think is an illusion. Then we can use the camera to photograph it. That way we know if the camera works to filter out illusions." Jin recommends, "Let's do a test. We'll start with Riji. Take a pic of him, then each of us, and see if we all agree on who each other are." Jin takes the girls to the basement. Riji is still tied up. Jin takes the photo, then turns to look to the others. He shares the photo. "Does anything in this picture not agree with what we see before us?" Odette leans in close. "What is that purple glow?" Jin nods. "Then you see it also. Riji isn't glowing when we look at him with our naked eyes. But he is when we snap a photo. I assume that is what the monsters do to hide themselves." Jin takes a picture of Odette. He looks down at it, then turns it to the others. Everything look normal? Odette nods, as does Sakura. Next, Jin points the phone at Sakura. Sakura pulls his arm down. I haven't had my picture taken in 10 years, and I'm not in the mood to have it taken today. Jin explains. Rigi and Odette have had their pictures taken already. Sakura snarls, if you take my picture, I will drop you like an MC drops the mic. Rigi's head drops back as he looks at his friends upside down. She doesn't want her picture taken because she is a monster. She's infected just like me. Odette and Jin wait to see what Sakura has to say for herself. Sakura rubs her eyes with one hand and nods. He's telling the truth. She unbuttons her blouse and opens it. She shows off her chest and the festering yellow and black scar under her floating rib. I was attacked by a white-haired beast the same night Ray went missing. Sakura goes on. I was stronger than it expected. I was confused by its illusions, but I fought it off. It stabbed me in the back, then jumped into the river to get away. Jin asked for clarification. You fought it off with your bare hands? Sakura denies. No. I found a section of rebar buried in the mud. Some lost materials from when the bridge went up. I would guess. Jin presses. What was the white beast? I don't know. It had a beak, antenna, 4 arms, 2 sets of wings, and stood about 5'9". It wasn't human, I can tell you that much. It had some sort of a biological armor. Bony scales that covered its back, its arms, legs, and barbs around its joints. Like a dragonfly, I guess, Sakura recalls. And you fought it off? Odette asks. Sakura confirms. Didn't seem any stronger than you or me. At least when I hit it, it cowered. Jin interrupts. Why didn't you say any of this before? Sakura folds her arms. Would you have taken me at my word? Odette shakes her head. I wouldn't have. Sakura seconds the motion. Nor would I. Rigi calls out. You need to go to the mill. Set it on fire. Jin looks to Odette. What do you think? Sakura interrupts. That isn't Rigi talking. The white beast is talking through him. Odette looks to Sakura. How do you know that? Sakura explains. Because I can hear it also. Jin points to Odette. Follow me. He walks up the steps and slides into the bathroom. Odette follows him confused. He shuts the door, so the two of them can talk away from the others. Jin folds his arms and lowers his head, thinking. Mosmo is not the white beast. It seems to me the white beast and Mosmo don't get along. Odette tips her head. Are you saying that there is more than one monster? Jin confirms. That part seems clear. Then what do you want to do? Odette asks. You and I are going to go up to the campsite and look around. If that is where Sakura was attacked, then it escaped into the river. I would guess the monster sleeps somewhere nearby, Jin hypothesizes. And what about Sakura and Rigi? Odette asks. We leave them here, Jin thinks aloud. Sakura seems to be able to resist the monster's mind control or whatever it is, and Rigi is safely tied up. Odette complains. This doesn't sound like the right move to me. May 14th, 11 a.m. Monks armed with staves and knives are threatening, but police with military training are even more so. Each Shin Megami is brought to its knees inside an hour. Monks are on the run. Dozens are tied up and brought before the constable. Joe Kokotana orders, Where is Nekoba? No one's talking. Joe grows irritated. Someone bring me Nekoba. No one talks. Joe cocks his gun and threatens a monk. Where is he? Oso steps between Kokotana and the monk. This man can't talk. Oso kneels down. He whispers with the older man. Open your mouth, please. The monk shows off the fact that he has no tongue. Also explains, many of the older monks have mutilated themselves to prevent themselves from infringing on the rules of the Buddha, burning the palms of their hands, removing their tongues, the head of their penis, or cutting out their eyes if they feel they have committed crimes against their god. Yusetto comes into view, pushing ahead of him the Moji brothers, Toby and Tommy. Joe grunts, I know those two can talk. Where is Nekoba? Toby explains. He was asked to leave the temple. Why? Joe orders. He broke the faith, Tommy explains. May 14th, 12:17 p.m. Odette and Jen walk around with their phones out. They take photos of the campsite that they have gathered at so many times in the past. Jen inquires, do you see anything out of place? Odette calls over. Spider webs stretch between the trees. The whole canopy is a blue-black color. Jen confirms, I can see that also. It is some sort of a resin. I have never seen anything to the alike. Odette points out, when Sakura left the camp to go do her thing, she went this way. Jin points out, that is the path that leads to the river and to the temple. Jin walks alongside Odette as they follow the path before them, leaving the camp and starting on their way to the river. Odette whispers, so, did we consider what we're going to do if we find this white beast? Jen giggles nervously. I was considering screaming like a girl and hiding behind you. As they walk down the path, they come to a tree with a ribbon tied around it, and a dream catcher hanging from each of the low-hanging branches. There is an old, rotten wooden sign on the ground. It had fallen over long ago, and no one ever took the time to hang it back up. Kakiri Stretch, Jin explains. In 1949, 99 men left their homes in the middle of the night, one winter's day. They all walked to this spot. Then Odette looks up, taking a picture of the trees. She gasps and drops her phone, falling over backwards. She points to the tree tops. Jen, look! Jen looks up. He can't see anything out of the ordinary. Then he lifts his phone to take a picture. Jin shuts his eyes and breathes slow and deep to keep calm. He shudders as he shakes, finishing his story. Hung themselves by the ankles and waited to die. 10 bodies hang from the tree, just overhead, hanging by silk rope, gagged, the eyes sewn shut. The shapes gray. These men died of dehydration, it would seem. Disembodied eyes flicker in the shadows of the trees, hidden by thick shadows. One of them moves ever so slightly. A black hand grips a tree branch, sliding forward only a few inches. Jin can see through the illusion that is hiding them for the moment. He gasps and falls over also. Jin grabs one of Odette's hands. He picks up their phones and points backwards. Jin keeps his eyes locked on the shadow. He doesn't want to blink. He doesn't want to lose sight of the beast. A loud humming fills the air. The monster has noticed the kids, and it has noticed that they can see it also. Jin points as they are crawling away. Look there. Odette scurries. I can see it. The living shadow runs down the tree face first like a lizard. It dashes on all 6 of its legs, running at them. But then stops short. The kids have slid into a gap in the canopy. The bright noon sky bathing them in harsh light. The monster dares not chase them another step. It runs away. The noon light would shatter the cloak of darkness it wears, and without the shadows to protect it, it would lose its magic. But it smelled them. As the sun slips lower in the sky, it will be able to sniff them out. It will find them. It will taste their flesh. May 14th, 1:45 p.m. Odette and Jen run back down the hill and out of the woods. They run as hard as they can. Jen grabs the first cop he can find and demands to know where his father is. They are directed to the school. A barricade is set up. The school is in lockdown. Jen and Odette getting in only due to Jen's relationship with his father. 8 cops are patrolling the school. Jen is taken to the locker rooms. Jen shouts for his father. Joe is kneeling in the shower room, examining a burnt corpse on the ground. Jen freezes in place as Joe holds up a hand to silence him. The ground has scorch marks on it. One wall has paint on it. The corpse is curled up into a ball, puffed out like a scorched marshmallow. The skin black and red, stretched and flaking. Anything that may have clued someone in on the identity of the dead by sight is gone. No hair, no gender, no clothing. Joe waves one of the investigators and points to the wall. Make sure we have a picture of that. He points to the writing. Joe looks to the wall and reads aloud what is written. Hannibal's at the gates. The 9 keys to knowledge he will not have. If it is truth you seek, ask Agora. She will take you to where bears meet men. There you will find me. Odette looks down and gasps. Who is that? Was, Joe corrects her. Dean Gaudreau, if I'm not mistaken. Jen has lost his train of thought as he is staring at the remains of the principal. I have a feeling it wasn't accidental death. Joe lowers his eyes. Hannibal, 9 gates, Agora. Joe takes a long gaze at the wall. Dean wanted us to see something, and I think I have some idea where he wanted us to look. Joe waves as he turns to walk up briskly. Come! He calls Jen and Odette to his side. The 3 walk down the halls of the school. Jen on the left, Odette on the right, Joe in the middle. Joe expresses, Hannibal Barca was a Corinthian. He fought in the Punic Wars against the Greeks. When people say the barbarians are at the gates, Hannibal is who they were talking about. The 9 gates are the Greco-Roman gods. Mars, Mercury, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Jupiter, Pluto, Venus, and Gaia. Someone was trying to break into the astrometrics lab. Gaudreau saw them, stopped them. Agora was the gathering place, the center of art and history of the ancient Greek world. Gaudreau hid something in the library for us. Joe tips his eyes up, thinking as they push open the library doors. Where bears meet people. I have no idea what he would mean by that. Odette cuts in. That part doesn't seem so hard. Natural sciences. He hid wherever it was in section SCI. Jin looks between Odette and his father. Why do I suddenly feel like the slow one? Joe nods in confirmation. That makes sense to me. Look for anything that doesn't belong. The group ransacked the library, skimming books, moving around paintings and sculptures on display. Jin calls out as he finds a folded up note slid into the spine of a thick book. He unfolds it. Zachary Edward Demore passed away May 13th at 11:45 a.m. Death by incineration. He was found dead in the school bathroom the following morning. Police have no leads. Linda, I'm sorry. The key is under the chimney rock. I will see you on the wall. Jin shoots his father a glance. Chimney rock. I know where that is. Jin runs off ahead. He shouts to his friends as he walks. Gojiro was a member of the National Geological Society. There's a photo in his office. He and some other guys hanging on the wall behind his desk. It was taken at Chimney Rock, Colorado, 1990. Jin throws himself at the office door, forcing it open. Jin runs around the small office and picks up the photo he saw to show to his father. Here! Joe looks at the photo, then up at the wall it was taken from. Joe leans in, looking at the discolored paint. The wall behind the photo was repainted recently. Joe rests his hand on the wall and gives it a soft push. The wall is made of clay. It pops out of place. There is a hole in the wall only slightly larger than a human hand, leading to a gap in the wall. Joe holds out a hand and calls out, "Flashlight!" As he looks around in the hole, Jin and Odette both pull out flashlights from their back pockets. Joe takes the one from Odette, mostly to her forcing it into his hand. Inside the gap in the wall is a small box, hidden in the folds of the insulation. Joe pulls the box out and sets it on the desk. Odette questions, "More old-world cop stuff?" Joe nods, then Jin explains how to best hide information. This is a balancing act. Accessibility versus security. A safe dipped in concrete is very secure, but very hard to carry. On the other hand, it would be very easy to reach tucked into your socks, but it wouldn't be very safe. Odette expresses, "So we have a box hidden in drywall." Joe opens the box. Inside there's a cell phone, a glass pendant with laser etchings on it, and a folder with a fistful of ID cards hidden in it. Joe looks in the envelope. Chao Norai, Chin Hadomu, Chief General Sergeant Andy Zuko, Iguru Gojiro. Joe looks at the kids. Gojiro was a government spy. Jin speaks up. He has been living in town for more than 10 years. Odette looks over. Deep cover. Joe looks down at the necklace and the phone. That would be why he knew to look for the hidden letter that led us to L. Odette looks at the ceiling and folds her arms in contemplation. L wanted to be found. Joe opens the phone. There's a text displayed on the screen. The phone was hidden here only hours ago. He reads the text. L. Inside. Fox. Owned. Umbrella. Decor. Intermediate. Tame. Ultimatum. Newborn. Dolphin. Edge. Regiment. Turtle. Helm. Ending. Monkey. Independent. Laughter. Zed. Joe looks in his face. I think it's time we give Elle a call. May 14th, 2:20 p.m. Negaba has found his way back to the mill, back to the company of Sirasanto. Sirasanto is standing at a workbench. He is painting a coin-shaped wood chip, ancient symbols, forgotten magic. Something from a lifetime so long past, not even the dead remember where the images came from. Sirasanto calls over as he smells Negaba's approach. It would seem you aren't intimidated by me. Nicobar inquires, Sir Santo, how old are you? Sir Santo chuckles. Well, that is not easy to explain. The old man sets down his work and looks to the sky. This body hatched 6 or 7 days ago. Nicobar is confused. So, why do you look so... Sir Santo replies, old, beat up, sick. The old man looks to the young preacher. I would ask why you aren't with she right now. Nicobar presses, please answer my question. Sir Santo drops his head. You don't pull punches, do you? There's a moment of silence as the two men watch each other. Sir Santo submits. We stay young by shedding our skins. Under ideal conditions, we will shed once every 30 or 40 years. This will revert us back to how we looked when we first became sexually active. But only so long as we wait until that time. If we get hurt, we can choose to shed early, but that will shave years off our lives. And from that time on, we shed, we look older, and the more of our scars will become permanent, following us even into new bodies. Sir Santo lets loose a tired breath. I had a few bad decades around the turn of the last century. I got involved in a conflict. Well, that part doesn't matter. What does matter is that I was forced to shed 10 times in as many years. Nicobar inquires. You were discovered. You were being hunted. Sir Santo grudgingly nods. You and I, we are not alike. Things that are not like you can be very not like you. She and I look like butterflies from this world on a surface level, but under the skin, we are nothing like you. Outside of needing to eat and a need for companionship. Massimo. She. Whichever name is right. Nicobar stumbles on his words. She was saying that sometimes humans can become what you are. Sir Santo agrees. It has happened a few times in the past 2,000 or 3,000 years. It looks like it's becoming more common as our races grow more entwined. We are effectively dissolving into one another. At some point, if things go like this, you and I will become indistinguishable from each other. At least, that's what I would hope. And how does this come to pass? Nicobar insists. Sir Santo is becoming aggravated. Have you ever heard of hobbits? Nicobar shakes his head. I recall no such word. About 100,000 years ago, there was a tribe of proto-humans, an animal that was a hominid, but not Homo erectus. They were close enough to humans that they could breed with humans. They were living on the Galapagos Islands before your race arrived. When you discovered the islands, you killed or bred with so many of them. Now the only place you can find hobbits is with a chromosome count. About 1 in 80,000 humans have non-human RNA. Nicobar looks for clarification. Are you suggesting? Sir Santo cuts in. I am not suggesting, I am saying. Due to a recent lapse in medical technology, you and I are chemically compatible. The biggest obstacle isn't genetic, it's anatomic. Nicobar squints. I don't understand. Sir Santo turns back to his table, and I'm not qualified to have this conversation. My blood was used to make an artificial butterfly a few years back, but I don't know how it works. Talk to she. She will tell you more. May 14th, 3:30 p.m. Joe, Jin, and Odette tinker with the radio. The dials have all been spun to see to it the frequency is scrambled. Thankfully, Joe had been taking notes and knows how they solved this puzzle the last time. Odette pulls out her phone and shows it to Joe. Kokotana-san, we came here to show you this. Joe takes a moment to flip through the phone. I don't understand. What am I looking at? Jin explains. The toxin that is causing hallucinations. It can fool our eyes, but not our phones. It acts like a filter between us, adding a layer that will wash away the illusion. Odette and I went back to where Ray was found. Monsters are hiding all over the forest, and Ray was not the only person to fall prey to them. Joe squints as he examines the pictures. By the gods. He finds the image of the living shadow, the disembodied eyes floating in the tree. Joe gets sucked in, leering forward, enticed by the evil eyes. This is like nothing I have seen. Jin looks over, programming the radio as his dad is talking to Odette. Odette explains. That thing. I think if it bites someone, it fills their body with some sort of a parasite. That parasite lets them mind control people. Joe looks over. And how do you come to that conclusion? Odette explains. Riji and Sakura have both been stung. Riji, after sunset, went 7 flavors of Fruit Loops. Sakura, on the other hand, it seems she is able to control the effects. Joe needs a moment to digest this information. He whispers, people inflected glow on camera. This means we can track them. He starts to whisper, but what after that? The radio kicks on. This is L. Can you hear me? Joe swoops over and grabs the microphone. Yes, L. I can hear you. L calls back. What is your situation like? Joe responds. Godro has passed away. There's a moment of dead air before L replies. That is a disappointment. Would it be correct to say he died of natural causes? Joe, with a trembling voice, replies, I would not describe his death as having been of natural causes. Again, it takes a few seconds before L messages back. Did he have any last words, Constable? Joe takes a deep breath. He left you a message. L, inside, Fox, owned, umbrella, decor, intermediate, tame, ultimatum, newborn, dolphin, edge, regiment, turtle, helm, ending, monkey, internment, laughter, Zed. Thank you. I understand, Al explains. Joe calls out, I do not. What does that mean? Al expresses, Dean Godro was one of my assets. He was doing a job for me in the area, Constable. Did he have a graphite stone and a wireless device of any kind with him? Joe growls softly to himself before answering. He did. Protect those objects. They're more valuable than I can explain. Jin picks up the microphone. Al, I feel that things may be more complicated than we had first anticipated. Using my cell phone camera, I was able to see around the illusions cast by the monsters in the forest. Al cuts Jin off. And how did you come to the conclusion that there are in fact monsters in the forest? Jin freezes. He doesn't know how to explain the things he has seen to Al. Al continues her thoughts. Until you have excluded the natural, it is not justified to invoke the unnatural. We are all aware of the idea that the human mind is easy to confuse. It is a simple feat to distract or misdirect someone, or pervert their perceptions. May 14th, 5:15 p.m. A few nurses stand in the hallway outside the room Takeshi has set up in. They whisper back and forth with each other. Even in the hospital, they are not immune to the madness taking root around the town. The door slides open. Takeshi slides out and locks the door behind himself. He stands slouched. His hair is uncombed. His skin is showing a faint hint of graying. He is under stress, to the point that it is no doubt taxing his health, both physically and mentally. Arnaldo speaks to Takeshi. Dr. Tensma has not shown up for her shift. Takeshi speaks in frank. Did you miss the memo? Tensma passed away. Arnaldo looks shocked. When? Has she already been set off to sea? If Takeshi doesn't stop the boy, he is just going to keep talking. Unless stated otherwise, the dead are to be cremated from now on. No services, no ceremonies, no autopsy. The heart stops beating into the flames. Do you understand? Arnaldo looks to Iwata. What? Just like that? What about the families? Takeshi slides his hands into his pockets and looms downward. The dead is dead. Into the fire. Iwata shouts. I've had about enough of this, Doctor. The sneaking, the stalking, the snap judgments. I need you to explain to me what is going on. Do you really want to know? Takeshi looks between the two. Do either of you have a cigarette? I'm out. There's a nod. Iwata checks her pockets. I am also out. Arnaldo shakes his head. I have never smoked. Now enough games, Takeshi. Iwata explains. Fine. Follow me to the conference room. Takeshi takes them to the elevator, then to the third floor. Takeshi sets up a TV in the room and plugs in a camera. He looks to his coworkers. Do you both agree that this is one of the cameras from AV Lab? Iwata looks at the device and reads the code on the underside of it that was written in nail polish. PM04. This one was last rented out to the postmortem department. It was one of ours. Takeshi looks over. And do you believe that I have the skill set needed to tamper with the footage on the tape in any way? Arnaldo expresses, nothing I have seen would lead me to believe that you can alter footage. Takeshi nods. Then we are in agreement. The footage on this tape was most likely filmed here and is unaltered. Iwata sits back in the chair, folding her hands, as she waits for the film to play. I will second that motion. Takeshi turns on the TV. The film plays. The three witness Takeshi turning on the camera in the autopsy room. Laying on the slab is a flesh-colored mass with oozing purple pores. Bioluminescent sludge dripping to the floor. They watch as Takeshi plugs probes into the mass, then listens to the analysis as he starts to describe what he thinks he is seeing before him. Female, 30 years of age, mother of 2, time of death, 10 p.m. They observe as he reads off the EEG numbers. Then, as he records Dr. Tenzuma's notes, a suddenly unnerved Iwata speaks out. What are we watching? Takeshi explains, I was hoping one of you had some idea. That disgusting slime on the table, at the time I was filming this, was Setsuka Tenzuma. But when I went back to rewatch the footage, it was not. Arnaldo is a man with mixed skills. At the same time he was in medical school, he was also attending classes on art, photography, and criminology. Arnaldo stands up and sneaks up close to the TV. Rewind that few seconds, please, he requests. Takeshi does as asked. Arnoldo questions Takeshi. Was there anyone in the room with you as you were recording? Takeshi explains. Not as far as I am aware. Why? Arnoldo points out the lights. The shadow on the ground there. That is being created by the surgical light. This one over here. That is an overhead lamp. But you can also see a shadow in the corner of the screen over there. I don't know what is casting that shadow. I would assume that is the shadow of the cameraman, if this was staged. Takeshi explains. I was using a tripod. There is no one holding the camera. Iwata questions. What is that viscous fluid on the ground? Takeshi shrugs. Beats me. I couldn't see it, couldn't smell it, and I can't feel it. Iwata thinks. Then we need to find out how we can see it. Iwata leans forward in her chair. Gentlemen, whatever we do, I want it fast and clean. Takeshi taps his fingers on the table before him. He grunts as he thinks, Arnoldo, I'm having a thought here. I want you to walk around the hospital. I want you to take photos of everyone and everything you can find. Print them, bring them here. Arnoldo looks back and forth between the middle-aged doctor and the elderly nurse. Do we bring the rest of the staff in on this? Iwata shrugs. And what are we going to say? We need to collect more information. We need someone to report before we can call a staff meeting. May 14th, 6:45 p.m. Takeshi stands over the remains of Tenzema. The beast is wheeling about, thrashing, struggling, stirring. Returned from the Never. Tenzema has shed her skin. She has grown 2 new arms, claws at the ends of her hands. Her skin is black. She has 6 eyes and a beak. Cartilage is growing over her skin, forming into armor. Splints of metal have developed around her claws and beak. Any part of her that was once human is gone. Tenzema is now something truly and wholly inhuman. Takeshi has gathered chains and ropes to tie her to the table. Takeshi sets out his operating tools. One hand reaches for a rib splitter. He cuts along her intercostal, then pulls away the rib cage, breaking it outwards. Looking into her insides, Tenzema howls. She tries to struggle. The ropes hold. In the dim light, Takeshi takes notes. He talks to the camera set over his shoulder. The body is literally symmetrical. 2 hearts, 6 chambers, each, in both hemispheres. Lungs attach to shoulder blades, hidden completely inside by ribs and heart. It would seem that the bone structure is hollow, and there is segmentations between shoulders. Stomachs are multi-chambered. Small intestine, kidney, pancreas all seem to be absent. Takeshi continues to dig deeper into the screaming monster's body. Liver and sex glands are engorged. A secondary uterus is present, as is an unknown organ that seems to bridge the oval ducts to the muscular fiber. Is porous. A pocket-like protrusion can be seen within the chest cavity, and what I can only assume to be some form of a venom gland bleeds into the esophagus. There seems to be a half-dozen other organelles lining the spinal column and around the neck. For some time, Takeshi goes on talking to himself as he hypothesizes over what the strange things in the monster's chest could be. Where does the beast come from, and how does it live? There's a knock at the door. Takeshi yells. I need 15 more minutes. He pulls a bone splitter out of the monster's chest. The chest snaps shut like jaws. Several hair-thin tendrils shoot from the wounds, sewing the chest close. Takeshi stares with wide eyes. Well, if that isn't a useful talent. I may have some idea as to what at least one of those alien objects could have been. Takeshi changes his clothes, then steps into the hallway. Odette jumps forth and hugs Takeshi. I have so much I need to tell you. Takeshi rubs her head. Let's talk. We're going to go up to the employee lounge. I will grab us something to eat. The two head to the main floor. Takeshi waits in line and grabs dinner for the two of them. Today at the hospital, the kitchen staff is serving quartered chicken with beef marinade, radish stir-fry, and garlic with bean sprouts. Takeshi picks up a slice of fried garlic. I'm told that this is huge out west right now. This is being served all over France, Italy, and Central America. I hope it's as good as it looks. Odette sets her phone on the table. I was just taking a walk around the block. Takeshi asked. Anything interesting going on? Odette turns her phone and loads up the photo gallery. Have you taken a look out over the river lately? Takeshi picks up the phone and looks at the picture in question. The water seems to glow. Near invisible globules form a web reaching from one side of the river across to the other. A semi-articulate chain of matter grows from under the surface. Takeshi's head cocks to one side as he starts to think, starts to look for puzzle pieces. He thumbs through the phone, looking at the other photos. He finds the tree with the swinging corpses, the photo of Rigi covered in slime, the picture of the shadow beast on the tree. He continues to scan through the photos. Odette standing around her room, showing off outfits, pictures taken at the park, or in places around town. His eyes are drawn at the corners of the screens, searching the backgrounds of images for anything out of place. After a few minutes of silence, Takeshi whispers, How long has that been there? Odette understands what he means to say. Weeks, months, I have no idea. How much time do you think most people spend really looking at the pictures they take? Most of us are egotists and only really are interested in ourselves and the things related to us. Little things like mosquitoes, the size of large dogs, somehow seem to escape our view. Takeshi asks, Where is Rigi? Tied up at our place. I recommend that you leave him there. Keep everyone else away from him, Takeshi requests. Takeshi has barely had time to finish his chicken before he lowers his head and looks off disappointed. I should get back to my work. Odette reaches across the table, grabbing her uncle by one arm. You didn't come home yesterday. Takeshi nods, yeah. Odette continues. Or the day before that. Takeshi grunts, So? How long has it been since you've been home? Odette inquires. Takeshi shakes his head. He knows that he has slept in his office for the last couple of days, but he can't seem to remember much before that. Takeshi, you need to come home. Take a bath. Shave. We can watch a movie together. Maybe Perfect Blue or Lady Ninja. I seem to recall you like that low-brow comedy stuff. That reminds me, what about Rigi? You say he's tied up. Is he being supervised? Takeshi asked. Tomoji is with him. Didn't I say that? Odette looks confused. Takeshi nods. In that picture, you can see purple slime dripping from Rigi's skin. I have seen that before. Soon, Lita will be the last Tenzaba. Odette lowers her head and rubs her eyes with one sleeve. I had a feeling. You know, I would like to be able to imagine that whatever all this is just wasn't. I'd like to watch TV, go to school, think about boys, but the suffering in the air is thick. The smell of hot death runs strong in the air. It's a strange weight on all of our souls. Takeshi pulls his hands back. I need to go see Nurse Iwata. I will be back in a moment. Takeshi departs, leaving Odette by herself, sitting in the lounge. May 14th, 8:10 p.m. Odette and Takeshi walk back to their house. Takeshi stops at the river for a moment. He looks out into the water. He reaches into his pocket, drawing his phone. He takes a photo of the river for himself, then looks at it for a few moments. That pattern on the surface of the water. I've seen it somewhere before. What is it? A cop patrol on the street calls to the two of them. Keep moving, doctor. You need to get off the street. Takeshi nods. He hugs Odette, and the two keep moving. In short order, they arrive at home. Sakura Tomoji is still there. She has changed her clothes, having to put on a pair of Odette's tights. Sakura explains, I needed to change of clothes. I threw my uniform in the wash. She speaks out in a dry tone. Odette's eyes run down her friend's body. My clothes look a little tight on you. Sakura starts to comment. I also noticed that these pants tend to get sucked. Takeshi interrupts. Is Rigi Tensuma still here? Sakura nods as she points over her shoulder. Want to go see him? The three walk into the basement. Rigi's skin has turned blue and black. A shell has started to grow around his body. Sakura comments. He did not look that bad 15 minutes ago. Voices call from the shadows in the basement. Sakura, Sakura, Sakura. Tomoji. It is time. Step into the shadows. Come with us to the forest. Sakura shuts her eyes and breathes deep. She forces the voices out of her mind, replacing it with the swinging pendulum. The voices turn their collective attention to Takeshi. Dr. Sue, you can't protect them. The voice changes, shapeless, to a very clear voice. The voice of Setsuka Tenzuma. You did nothing to protect me. You will do nothing to protect him. Takeshi looks between the girls. I just wanted to ask, does anyone else hear that disembodied voice right now? Tomoji nods. I do. Odette shakes her head as she pulls out her phone. Nope. She scans the room with her camera. Only narrowly does she miss the white-haired beast kneeling before the window as it runs off. The voice yells, You will sleep. And then, when you do, your children die. Takeshi lowers his eyes as he thinks. I will deal with Rigi. You go upstairs. I'll be there soon. Odette's eyes snap upwards. I think I know where you saw that web pattern you were talking about. May 14th, 10:45 p.m. The voice of the white-haired beast shouts to Rigi. Thou must awaken. Thine enemies draw near. Rigi awakens. Wrapped in a blanket, laying on the floor, Takeshi walks down the steps, a butcher's cleaver in hand. Rigi shakes his head as he looks about in panic. Takeshi, he struggles. Takeshi, what's going on? Takeshi whispers, I'm sorry, Rigi. I couldn't help you. I couldn't help your mother. But I'll do all I can to protect your sister. Takeshi stands over Rigi. He pulls the axe back in both hands, and heartlessly he strikes. It is not fast, it is not clean, and it is not painless. But Takeshi strikes. He strikes time and time again, severing Rigi into bits and bites, small enough to shovel into the furnace. This is the cure to evil, to burn it away. Sakura was awakened by the scream. She stands at the top of the steps looking down. Takeshi, splattered with hot blood, makes his way back up the steps, head down, one hand in his pocket, the other on the cleaver. Sakura asked, "Did you?" Takeshi nods. "I did." "When the time comes," Sakura starts. Takeshi confirms, "Of course." Sakura hugs Takeshi. "Thank you." Takeshi pulls his phone from his pocket. He hides in the palm of his hand. "Why haven't you changed?" The two stare each other down for a few moments. Sakura can see the phone hidden in Takeshi's hand. She can't lie. She can't run. Her choices are limited. She can attack Takeshi, or she can surrender. The doctor is the spirit of humanity, and its will to fight. Sakura lowers her eyes. "You won't need that." She points at the phone. "I will comply." She leads him down the steps, down to the laundry room. Takeshi leads Sakura down the steps, and in a corner of the room with no windows, hidden from the door. Sakura takes off her hoodie, the scar from where she was stabbed clearly visible through her undershirt. She then steps out of her tights and undergarments. She lets out a soft breath. She is defiant. She wants to live. Maybe, just maybe, this will allow her to do so. "I did change," she explains. "On the 12th. I shed my skin and became the thing you are now hunting." As her eyes open, the illusion she had been casting gives way. Sakura is a black-skinned, six-eyed, six-armed monster. 4 sets of translucent wings grow from her back. A blade grows from the center of her face. She has only 3 fingers and 3 toes. Her legs are multi-jointed. Takeshi looks for his cigarettes. Looking at Sakura has made his heart jump. He chokes on his tongue, struggling to keep calm and collected. "I am still me, Takeshi-san."